Hello everyone, it is Serenity or Polaris here, whatever you want to call me, and today I'm kind of just doing a little bit of another rant video, which is actually a common theme between, well, for many of my videos, but this is in particular in regards to the beta mode. Now, I don't actually have any footage from the beta mode, and I don't want to get footage from beta mode because it's so unpleasant to play it that I don't ever want to play it again. I played it like 5 times, I think, the day of the patch, and I never want to touch it again. And I'm going to explain a little bit about why, especially from a Shield player's point of view. First, I want to start off by saying, and I might have clickbaited the title of this video, I'm not really too sure if I did. All I'm going to say is, it isn't completely true. Shield probably isn't the worst karma in the game, or wouldn't be the worst karma in the game. It's probably more likely that a Slayer will be. Generally speaking, Slayers are more likely to be polarizing in terms of how good or bad they are because they don't really have any presence in neutral outside of poke, and are more like specifically combo oriented or team damage oriented, whereas Breakers can kind of offer in all 3 of those categories. It can offer, obviously it offers stuff in neutral, it also offers stuff in combos, and to some extent certain karmas can offer some stuff in poke. But alas, I do think Shield will be the worst breaker in the game. If the current beta, if it were to go through into the game right now officially, I think Shield will be the worst breaker in the whole entire game. Potentially by a long shot. I'm not really too sure how everything else would stack up, but it definitely would be like the worst, no doubt. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why. Okay, so first, I guess actually let's start by talking about the benefits. What does Shield benefit out of in the new game mode? Alright, well let's think. What does Shield get? Well, there's no combo limit in the beta, so you don't have to worry about that, I guess. Although all karmas don't have to worry about that. It's slightly easier to combo out of Warcry now, because if you had Warcry, for example, you can't do a WWLMB off of it very easily. I'm surprised I even got that. I don't even know how that happened. You can't really cancel Warcry with a WWLMB. You have to kind of cancel with like a shift attack, but since shift is now tied to WWLMB, it's actually easier to catch off of Warcry. So I guess that's one benefit. Shield pull still works, pretty good skill. There's a pretty degenerate strategy where if you run hammers, since Sanctuary meta is probably going to come back, you can heal and then Iron Will yourself and avoid taking any poke while also still healing. So that's a degenerate strategy if you wanted to do that. And yeah, that's probably about it for the benefits. And to be honest, outside of the degenerate strategy, I think all the other ones are borderline useless. So now let's get into everything that is bad. First, let's talk about some skills that won't work anymore or will borderline not work. Charge, already a skill that's almost impossible to catch off nowadays, is even more impossible to catch off. Somebody told me in the destruction mode beta that you could shift out. Now, shift out of the skill. Now, I think I might have misread that or misinterpreted it as, oh, so you can cancel the animation. Like you could cancel this animation partway through. I was wrong. I misinterpreted that. You still shift at the same time you could before. In fact, the following up off of it would be exactly the same right now. Basically exactly the same in beta mode. The only difference actually is it's more difficult because if they hit the ground, they can tech roll and get iframes. Because again, there's iframe tech rolls, which I think people forget about. Speaking of iframe tech rolls, they are going to come up a lot in my explanations and my rants because iframe tech rolls will ruin 90% of what Shield is based upon. So that's great. And also some moves on Shield got different knockdown, which made sense for the moves that had blow attack, but Shield never had blow attack in the first place, so I don't know why it has different knockback on certain skills, or on certain commands than it does now. So yeah, so charge basically is the same. but probably harder to combo off of. Shield throw, heavy nerf. If I were to shield throw from this distance, well, that was already borderline impossible for me to pick up. It would literally be impossible for me to pick up on beta. Even going from here would be impossible for me to pick up, even if I did get close enough, because they would be able to tech roll immediately and have iframes. So in majority of cases, I mean, I already missed that, and I don't even fucking know how that missed. So that's a case where it would work. But generally speaking, there aren't many cases where it actually would work. And so it's very likely that you will just use shield throw to peel and nothing else. Speaking of Warcry, even though we did talk about the benefit of comboing out of it, you can't actually combo into this, basically ever, unless you're using another Karma. Obviously, for most of my explanations for this, I'm basically talking about solo shield, as in shield and then a Slayer. Obviously, if you shield another breaker, that kind of negates some of the weaknesses of shield, but not all of them. But yeah, comboing into Warcry is going to be basically impossible, and I'll get more into why when we get into the commands. If we talk about more skills, so again, almost impossible to combo into, basically impossible to combo off of, basically impossible to combo off of. Outside of the degenerate strategy, Iron Will actually takes nerfs in other areas where, remember how you could heal before? So you could Iron Will. So one of the things you could do, right, if you had gray health that you wanted to heal back, you could Iron Will yourself and then heal in the Iron Will, or while you had the Iron Will buff active, so that you didn't have to really worry too much about more poke and stuff like that, and you could apply it to your teammates too if they were already healing. So that was like kind of nice, but obviously you can't do that anymore. So, and also since it gets bypassed by any debuff skills, like if you get set on fire, if you get bleed stacks on you, Iron Will doesn't protect you against any of that, and since you won't be able to heal anyway, Iron Will be even more useless in those scenarios, so there's that. Oh yeah, counter. Counter is going to be absolutely useless as well because, yeah, you won't be able to pick up at all. Oh, that actually still triggered it. Yeah, you will literally not be able to pick off of it unless you're like really, really close to a wall. If they use any skill, especially if you're like any distance away, it's like, yes, that picked up now, but that's because the AI doesn't tech roll. So this would not have worked, and the enemy would have been able to get out for 100% because again of tech iframe tech rolls. So counter is literally only there again to reset neutral. In fact, most of your skills, if you've kind of figured out on shield and beta, basically reset neutral and they don't do anything else. So that's all pretty cool stuff. And I think that basically covers it. Again, shield pull is like the only one that's actually not affected. So I guess that's good. Also, ult 2 is now impossible to follow up on unless you have another skill. Again, if you have another Karma, that can help. There are certain Karma combinations where that might not. So Shield Fist, Shield Orb, Shield Kunai, Shield Cannon to some extent, although actually with the new WWLMB on Cannon, maybe not so much. But anyway, those three combinations in particular, it is literally going to be impossible, and I talked about this if you look at my last video. I talked about how if you use anything that stuns, right, and you do a WWLMB, it gets rid of the stun before the move actually connects. That's still a thing. They haven't changed that. Or, okay, actually I could be wrong about that. I have played Shield in beta, but I refuse to use ult 2 specifically because it didn't seem like they never mentioned that they fixed it, and I don't see why the dash change would have fixed it because it's still a WWLMB. I assume it still works the same way as a Shield WWLMB, because it's still a WWLMB. Again, there's actually really no difference between it. So technically, I haven't actually tried it in beta to see if they fixed it there, but there's no reason why if it was fixed there, it wouldn't be fixed in a real game, and it's not fixed in a real game, so I just assume it applies there anyway. So if you ult 2, remember in my old video how I talked about how if you want to follow up, obviously you could use the skill, although in this case really the only good skill that you would want to use is, I guess from this close you probably could use shield throw, but you'd probably want to use shield pull. None of your other skills would do anything. Or again, tab to another Karma and use their skills. But if we're just talking about shield by itself and you ult to somebody, the best course of action was to always jump right click. It didn't use any stamina, and it was basically a free follow-up. Here's the issue. jump right click arguably might be the worst command in the game in beta. It is actually so horrific. It inflicts knockdown like it used to, but I don't know what they did to it. Again, like I said, a lot of the blow attacks, they got increased knockdown distance, or they just got changed to knockdown, and now they have increased knockdown distance, like they send the enemies pretty far. This always knocks down. It knocks down in here. The only thing is it lifts up a little bit. But in beta, it knocks them like 10 miles away from me. And they like literally just tech roll immediately and get iframes. Like you literally can't follow up off of this, basically, like ever. So like that, you literally can't do this, basically, unless you get really lucky. And maybe if you're near a wall you can do it, but otherwise no. So this might be the worst command in the game. For one, because again you can't actually follow up on it because it knocks them down really far away for some reason. They basically instantly hit the floor, they instantly get iframes, and you basically reset neutral. That's the most you do out of it. So you can't use it out of ult 2 anymore, basically. You don't get anything off of it outside of 262 damage approximately. So, and was that a crit? No, that's not a crit. Okay, so yeah, around 250 damage. So what does that mean for shield? It means you literally can't pick up off of ult 2. It would be the worst ultimate in the game for solo shield because, again, unless you have a skill available, in which case half of your skills you can't even use. To secure catch, the only ones you could use are basically shield pull and shield throw. Shield throw can be a bit risky, although if you're already that close, again, it's probably fine. Shield pull would be your best option though, and that's about it. Because you can't WWLMB. Again, if you look at the last video, it gets rid of stun, so they'd be able to shift out or use the skill. And you can't jump right click because it just knocks them down, and yeah. So you basically have nothing. You don't even have shift attack because, again, that command's removed. So, which is also fun because that means that this command, which is a special command on shield, you can only do that off of shift attack. Because you can do shift attack into the LMB combo, or you can do shift attack into a right click, which does this little unique combo. Yeah, that's gone because you can't do shift attack anymore. So shield, which already had the lowest command list of any karma, is now going to have even less commands, so that's always cool. And yeah, so right click, useless in neutral. You can't use it in combo either. Doesn't matter if you're doing it like this. Trust me, I tried like doing it off of this one, which should have like lifted them up high. It knocks them so far away that you still can't pick up. Maybe you can do it off of this one. That's probably the highest you can get. But you're still probably going to be using a dash orb anyway, and if you don't have any, you're definitely not picking it up. So most combos, oh, and you're definitely not going to be able to do 3 LMBs. Yeah, that's not going to work. They're going to be able to tech roll. And even if they don't tech roll, the last hit is going to send them so far away that it doesn't matter. They'll tech roll that one. So yeah, you can't do those combos anymore. Can't right click at all, no shift attack. So again, ult 2 useless unless you have another karma that can pick it up. And so that should be better to just use shield ult 1 in this case. Land slasher, you should just be using that instead. Unless you have another karma. Or if you have a karma that can pick up, then go ahead. If you don't have a karma that can pick up, or your solo shield, it might just be better to run the other one. Honestly, even if you're doing the other combinations, again, if your tabs on cooldown or whatever, you're just not thinking about it in the moment, or you need a quick action, it might just be better to run the other one. So there's that. Also, again, talking about the combos, there are realistically only 4, I say 5 commands that shield can actually use in combo. You have LMB, or the LMB string. I still count this as the LMB string because that's basically the only follow-up, like you can only go into that from LMB. You have aerial LMBs, although really only the first 2. You have WWLMB, and you have tab attack basically. And if you are ballsy as hell, then you have right click. But that's just gonna, you can't do LMB really off of it very well. I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, comboing into this is like not the easiest. Let me see if I can even get something going. Why is it not? Can you not, I know there was a right click combo. Oh, I guess you do it like that. Let me try that again. Okay, it does not seem consistent, and again, I don't know why you would go for this, because you're basically forcing yourself to use a skill. Because, like, I'm not going to be able to LMB off of that. And I don't think you can shift attack either. Maybe they changed it. Maybe you can shift out a right click now. I didn't actually check, but I don't think you can. Or, like, I think it's still the normal timing. So I think they'd still hit the ground before you do that. So, again, I wouldn't even use right click in a combo. I think it's terrible. Probably will be even worse with the changes, just in general. But, yeah, so, again, you have the LMB, chain, aerial LMBs, WW LMB, and tab attack. And those are basically the only combos you can ever use in, or the only commands that you can actually use in combo and neutral, basically. Again, use right click, it doesn't do anything. It basically just knocks the enemy down and resets neutral. That's all it does. So you would have one neutral, potentially if you broke them, but you just reset neutral. So you won it for basically 250 damage is what you did. Same thing when we talk about LR. You will not be able to follow up with this at all. Even this, it knocks them down before you're able to follow up, so they'll be able to iframe tech roll out of it. So again, unless you want to go for something high break, I mean, I guess this one you could kind of use a neutral, but this is so committal, and honestly, I used to fear this command sometimes, but I mean, I already talked about how this is such a committal command that you can punish it, like guaranteed in certain ways. But with the new changes in beta, you not only don't have to fear it, you can literally throw out a skill and it doesn't matter. Like, you could, if you see somebody charging LR, you can literally just throw out a skill, and even if they read you and they release it in time for it to break you, you can just buffer or just start mashing left click and you will tech roll anyway and get iframes. So even though they broke you and they won that, or they reacted to what you were doing and beat you, they don't get a follow-up anyway. So again, it just resets neutral. You did a risk, didn't even have to burn your shift, didn't even have to use anything, and even if they did want to try to get a follow-up, which would cost them a dash sphere, you can just tech roll away, and you basically did a relatively safe encounter. So you can basically just throw out a skill when you see this and not have to worry about anything, because again, they can't pick up off of it. So yeah, basically most of Shield's commands are useless. You're basically, again, in combo, you're realistically only limited to like 4 commands. I guess you could argue even 3 if you don't want to count tab attack, because obviously if you're talking about solo shield, then it's really only this, and this, and that's it, basically. So if you're talking about solo shield combos, it's you get 3 commands to work with here, which is not a lot. And technically all karmas will have most of their commands reduced, because again, you're losing your shift attack, and you know, Orb had a special shift attack, follow up, like Orb also had shift LMB RMB and stuff like that, which you didn't have to do it off of, but you could. And like Scythe kind of had special skill cancels with it, but you know, generally it's gonna be very hard to combo with shield. If not, I actually think in many cases it might be impossible or borderline impossible. I mean, even just like comboing like this, it's much easier in training mode, I will say, but people fall a lot faster, and you don't have much room for mix-up. Like, I can't even do this. I mean, I guess I can if I get really lucky, but the timing's a lot harder in a real game, and sometimes, you know, shit happens. You don't really have like ways of mixing up your timing, right? Like, one of the things I like to do with shield, because I could do drop down right click and still combo off of it, is that if I knew somebody was going to do an IC, right? Obviously I could drop down instantly like that, or I could delay myself with 1 LMB, or maybe I could delay myself 2 LMBs, or I could even go for the 3rd. And really, I have like a lot more mix-ups for when I fall and stuff like that. But now I don't have any mix-ups, because again, I can't really drop down right click, so my only mix-up is just when do I time my left clicks. And also, speaking of left clicks, I think you have to do the second one. I think you can get away with just doing 1 LMB, but it doesn't. I don't trust this. Like, look at that. Like, you can't do it high, because if you do it high, they land at basically the same time as you. You can't really do it low, because they still land at the same time as you. So I think it's better to just do one, and then do two, and do it that way. In which case, you don't really have a mix-up either, because if you do it all up here, again, they get so low to the ground, it's like kind of scary. And again, this is the shield combo. You don't have the ability to basically do anything else. And of course, when it came to comboing into Warcry, again, so the way to combo into Warcry, usually, at least what I do, is I would do this, right? You can't do that anymore. Again, like I said, you get tech roll stuff. You can't do that. So I haven't really tried this, but yeah, that's not gonna work because it's too slow. Let me try delaying it like a lot. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Alright, let me try this. Okay, that's gonna be your only way. I actually wasn't even too sure if that was gonna work because I thought it might be too slow. But it seems like that's literally gonna be the only way to combo. And this is gonna be super... also, it drops sometimes like that. That combo actually dropped there because this right click, or sorry, these right clicks right here, yeah, they don't have a very big hitbox, so they kind of like to drop like a lot, especially against DS users and stuff like that. And kunai users with increased knockback, it basically drops like 50% of the time on them, so that's always fun. And then again, on top of that, you're already dealing with the fact that not only can that drop, but it doesn't really... Well, first of all, it's also an animation lock, so this whole thing is an animation lock. And so you have to commit to it, you can't skill cancel out of it. You can't even shift out of it, so that's super fun. But also it just hits low, so they kind of have to be low. But then if they're already too low, like, you just have to be careful with Warcry. And to be honest, I think the only reason Warcry is working here is because I have action speed. In the beta, I don't actually know if you can do this, because it might be too slow. I mean, just look at how close they are. And again, like I said, you can follow up off of Warcry easier because you can now, you can shift cancel, like you can shift cancel out of Warcry like that, right? But it goes into WWLMV, so you will be able to do that to follow up easier. But comboing into Warcry is going to be a lot harder because again, the enemy doing this, the enemy almost always ends up really close to the ground. And even when I use Warcry, sometimes the enemy falls. Like, look at how close they are. It's just disgusting. It's not good. It really isn't. So, that's basically it for this video. You can kind of tell from my voice that it's just super condescending. I don't think... There isn't much from the beta. There's a few things. The dash fear system, the tech roll iframes, and the movement speed, it's just no-go. It's literally no. I just do not want it. I don't. Especially for shield, especially as a shield main. Even as a partial hammer main, because I do use hammer a lot, I think it's terrible. I really do. I mean, it ruins even combos for other characters. Like, speaking of hammer, if we want to, so I do have it equipped. This combo, yeah, that doesn't really actually work. I think it does if you time it like perfectly, but if you delay it at all, which by the way, timing it like this is actually a bad idea in a real match anyway, because sometimes you get a backwards hitbox depending on where they get hit, like where they get sent diving. And to be honest, in a lot of cases, that knocks down anyway. So if we want to talk about moves that knock down, actually, again, they adjusted knockdown on that. It does blow, so you can't, if you are able to land this, this knocks them down. They probably would end up like over here or something when they get hit by that. Probably closer, like over here. But it knocks them down in crazy far away, so you actually can't follow up off of that. And even if you do the dive, even just that part will knock them down super far away. So half the time, again, if you delay it at all, I think even when you don't delay it, the dive attack will actually just not function. It won't work because it won't track them, because they knock down iframe tech roll away like 10 million light years. So it doesn't even work. So that's cool, which means hammer is really more limited to combos like this. And again, these aren't like necessarily harder combos, it's just less. And obviously you can do this, And if you have Sanctuary, you can actually Sanctuary cancel, which I did not do right there, but you could. Get Sanctuary cancel, or you could even do like, I don't know why that didn't work. Let's try it again. Alright, because they're too high. But you could do something like that. Try doing it again. So you could do this loop, which again, it's not hard to do this, it just doesn't do too much damage. But it's not hard at all. So again, these combos aren't difficult. They're not making combos more difficult. They're just reducing what you can do. Which is not really what anybody is asking for. Why is it that when you do this, I guess you have to movement cancel, right? But yeah, so you could do something like that. Yeah. That's about it though. I don't really want to talk about any of the other karmas because I didn't really test them and I don't want to, so yeah, please answer the survey. Just in case they do actually bother listening to us, maybe it'll do something. I don't think they have the willpower to actually not push these changes through. I'm sure they'll tweak them. I'm 100% confident that they probably will make some adjustments. My only issue is I think it's still going through anyway. I think it doesn't matter if the community says we don't want dash spheres, we don't want the movement speed decrease. I think they're still going to go through with it. There are things from it that I do kind of like. The actual control changes for sword, bow, witch, and cannon I think are actually good. I think they should go through with it. Although, that being said, I think witch might need a little bit of investigation onto whether it's actually good or not. I think it's a little bit weird. I haven't really seen how it works. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to try that out in the beta mode, but I think those changes are fine. I think the removal of the HP healing, or the gray bar, I think that's actually fine, with the exception of Sanctuary not being able to heal you in PvP. Currently it doesn't. I don't think it should at all. Even if you remove the HP stuff, I don't think there should be healing skills. Healing skills in any type of arena fighting game is just bad, especially if it's a competitive game. You don't want healing. And like even Dark Mist, I'm fine with it healing, because for one, it doesn't heal that much, and two, you actually have to land it on somebody to hit. You have to hit somebody in order to heal. It doesn't heal on whiff. With Sanctuary, you can just place this anywhere you want and just run to it and get healed. And it can heal literally anybody. You can stack them if you have 3 people who have hammer. You can literally basically out heal damage, especially if you have Iron Will. You know, have 3 people cast it, 1 person cast Iron Will, and again, you don't take any damage, you just get all the heals. So, it's, yeah. Again, fine with HP. I'm fine with the combo limit removal, by the way. I think it's going to lead to potentially faster games, presuming the stuff that I want doesn't go with the other stuff, because, again, I think the dash freeze and the movement speed is going to really significantly slow down the game, which the game is already slower than it was in 2019. If you look at my videos from 2019, I have what are called the top scrim battles. I think if you look through my YouTube channel, it's one of my earlier videos that I posted. I posted like 6 videos in one day. If you look at them, they're all matches of like top players at the time, and that was back in 2019. There's not a single game on there that's longer than 5 minutes. If you look at the times for the YouTube videos, there's not a single one that's longer than 5 minutes. Sure, the score was less, but again, it was only 2 points less, and again, it was still faster. Some games were less, like, it even averaged out, even though there was a time limit, by the way, of 5 minutes, but none of the games ever hit 5 minutes. That didn't mean that in 2019 no games hit 5 minutes. Of course there were plenty, especially because there was a clock in the first place, but a lot of games, especially in the top player scrims, ended up ending, I think if you averaged it out, it's probably anywhere between 3 and 4 minutes, which is perfectly fine. I'm fine with that speed of a game. But right now, most games go, the zone doesn't close in until 5 minutes. And it's probably like 8 minutes for you to get into the small circle. So most games nowadays are probably around 8 to 10 minutes long. Unless, again, you get like, if you're dominating, it'll be a lot faster. But generally, they're probably, if you're getting a close game, it can be around 8 to 10 minutes long. Those games in the scrims, at least I think some of them, were like relatively close. And they were still ending in less than 5 minutes. Whereas again, games nowadays probably more like 8 to 10 minutes. So arguably the game is like 2 to 3 times slower, maybe even 4 times slower in some cases, than it was in 2019. And with the movement speed decrease and the dash spheres and the healing, it can be even more. So yeah, again, I think HP removal with the exception of Sanctuary is fine. Combo limit removal and the control changes for Sword Bow, Witch, and Cannon, I like those. And that's about it. I don't like anything else. I really don't. So they can implement those 3 things. I'm fine with it. Even the blow system thing, which I know some people are fine with, I don't like what they replaced it with. I absolutely hate what they replaced it with. It is terrible. Nobody, like, even in a game, even in an actual fighting game, if you're going to knock the opponent down, you want to knock them down in a way where they're still close to you so you can get Oki. You knock them down so far away now, you don't even get any Oki. So, like, I don't, like, it's just one of the worst ways, and sometimes, again, if you're, like, shield and you do a command, it just knocks them down anyway, so it's just terrible. It really is. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and please answer that survey, and hopefully we can prevent some damage in the future of Kurtzpel, but we'll see. Thank you guys for watching.